Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the world famous podcast, Beating the Press, your weekly podcast talking about all things football. If you've not already done so, please click that subscribe button down at the bottom. If you will listen to us in the audio format, we are now available on Google Podcast. Hopefully Chris has uploaded them all. Today I am joined by obviously Chris, co-host. We've also got Andy, who's our Welsh expert, and we've got Simpson, who will be giving us a overview over the whole Euros. If you've not had the chance to watch our previous podcast on the Euros, we've gone through Euro 96 up until 2016. This podcast will be us talking about the upcoming Euros, the delayed Euros. So with that all being said, I will pass over to my co-host Chris to give you all a bit of structure as to how this will flow.
Yeah, so as normal, Tys left it down to me. So basically what we'll do is we're going to go over the England squad, decipher whether we think that it's right, whether it's wrong, and then we're going to go through the Welsh squad. Obviously, we've got our Welsh expert, Andy, who's going to rip apart the Welsh squad. We're going to show which of our squads, which starting 11 that we're going to choose for the Croatia game for England, and I believe it's the Switzerland game for Wales. And then we're going to move on to the predictions and basically our thoughts and hopes for the rest of the tournament. So with that being said, I think Boris Johnson's about to announce that the Freedom Day, I think that's what everyone's calling it at the moment, it's going to be pushed back. Now, I don't imagine that'll affect anything because like a lot of people tend to normally go to, like the fan parks, or they'll tend to go to like an outdoor pub or anything like that. I was just wondering where you guys are planning on actually watching it. I'll start with Ty. Obviously, you've managed to ring in some kind of like a hot tub and some kind of setup to get a little bit freaky. But yeah, go on, mate.
I don't know if you've planned this, but I'm glad you've come to me first because for anyone that follows me on social media, you know that I've absolutely plastered it. So yeah, I'll be watching it in my garden. I've managed to get hold of a hot tub. I've got an outdoor TV. It's something that's been in the planning process for the last 3 months, but and the target was always 11th of June, so I've managed to get it done a week before, so I'm absolutely over the moon with it, and I've given it a practice run for the England-Romania game. I mean, it was the wankiest of wank games, but
it was.
It was fine, do you know what I mean? So TV didn't fall off and shit, so everything was good. What about you, Simpson?
I'll be visiting the local establishment. I'm still trying to help out local businesses thrive by drinking all the rum where I live. So I'll probably, Sunday's game, I don't know. I think the first game I'll probably watch at home because it's always a draw and I'll end up cursing them out. I reckon the Scotland game I'll probably go out because that'll be a good atmosphere regardless of what Boris says. I think I'll be out for that one. But yeah, I think the first few games I generally always watch at home. Try and enjoy it. And plus, like I say, my little lad's getting old enough now to obviously hear a few of the swear words that I do say. So I won't mind watching a few games with him. It's quite nice. He's getting old enough now to get involved and kind of understand what's going on. So it'd be quite nice. Kind of the first sort of tournament, really, that he'd be really into. A couple of years ago, we were on holiday when we did the semi-finals against Croatia, and he was down the wet and white slice, to be honest. He wasn't bothered what I was doing. So this is the first one he'd be really into it. So probably at home, to be honest, lads.
Andy?
Genuine Wales superfan celebrity Bryn Law has sorted a couple of venues in Leeds City Centre to try and get as many Welsh fans together down there for games. So probably one of those venues in the city centre for the first couple. And the Italy game, our final group game, is on Father's Day. So I watched all of the Euro 2016 either in France or sort of in Leeds where I was. But I haven't watched a game with my dad in the major tournament. So given, he was the one who and he's the reason I was born in Wales because my mum was actually pregnant in England and he sort of hurried me across the border at the 8-month point. It'll be good to go and watch Wales in a major tournament with him and it being on Father's Day is a nice added bonus, I guess. So yeah, that's the plan for the group stage and I'm not planning beyond that, but we'll see.
So Chris, where are you going to watch it? Where are you watching first game on Sunday?
In the front row. It's nothing as glamorous as you guys. At the moment, I was actually thinking about coming down to Tys, but no. In Middlesbrough, there's usually like a fan park, and where everybody seems to want to throw glass bottles at each other's heads. So I might venture down there if I'm feeling a little brave. But yeah, speaking of which, it was good to actually have the England games at the Riverside. Obviously, when you're your hometown hosts the national team, it's kind of like a little bit of pride. You know, we kind of get a little bit of a bad rep, I want to say, especially from the likes of Channel 4 in Middlesbrough. So it was good to have the England team over there, especially with them at the Downton training ground. The facilities that they have there are excellent. And like you say, it was just a shame that the games were absolutely immense. But anyway, moving on to the England final squad. Gareth Southgate finally whittled it down to a 26, something which the Wales manager didn't seem to have much of a problem with. As you can see, for those of you that are listening, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Mason Greenwood obviously had to pull out due to injuries. And then Gareth Southgate finally had one last selection headache before the final 26, and that was between Ben White, Ben Godfrey, James Ward-Prowse, Jesse Lingard, Aaron Ramsdale, and Ollie Watkins. Obviously, he went ahead with Ben White. I'm going to put this to Simpson first. Do you think it was the right selection? Bearing in mind, I thought James Ward-Prowse was absolutely amazing. I thought his delivery, he was on every set piece, and I just couldn't see if anyone else was going to be picked, it was going to be him. Secondly, do you think that tells you a bit more about the manager's thoughts? Is he more pragmatic as opposed to going with one of the other options, like a James Ward-Prowse?
Yeah, first of all, James Ward-Prowse is really unlucky not to get in there. I can see why he's picked Ben White, because looking at it, he's thinking we can score goals. And he's looking at it thinking defensively, if we set up defensively, we'll scrape 1-0 all the way. I mean, Portugal did it a few years ago, so I understand where his thinking is. But we play attacking football in England. The Premier League's attack. There is a lot of teams out there that will try and defend, but eventually there is a lot of attacking moments in English football. There always has been. So I'm not sure his thinking behind it. Obviously, he wants plenty of defenders to then change the formation at 3 at the back or 4 at the back. But Ward-Prowse was the one, for me, watching even the friendlies, was always getting the ball and trying to move it forward. Henderson will do that, but whether or not he's going to be fit enough to do 65, 70 minutes to fit into the group stage. But Ward-Prowse would always look for at least a diagonal or some kind of forward pass. Like I said, he's got the set pieces in him. The kid's done, 2 full seasons, Hampton? Not missed a single game. I mean, that doesn't get you England squad, but he's been consistent throughout. And I thought he was very unlucky not to get in there. Ben White can play in several different positions. But I think, again, he's a little bit young. He needs a few more games and experience. Ward-Prowse, hasn't played European football for Hampton, but he's played a lot of Premier League games and played a lot against good teams, really, and good players he's played against. So I think he's the major one to be unlucky. Lingard's had a great end to the season. Watkins had a good season. It may fall flat on our arse if Kane does get injured. I mean, I've got the Calvert-Lewin ponytail in just for this Euros. I thought, you know what? Let's sneak out one last haircut out of this 40-year-old. But for me, I'd have taken Ward-Prowse, and it may seem a bit controversial, but for me, the ones that haven't been on form really is Sterling and Rashford. As much as I love them, I probably wouldn't have taken them. I'd have probably even argued that Jared Bowen, for example, at West Ham had a better season than them two. So there's options there where I'd have probably even dropped one of those two out and taken Ward-Prowse. You've got enough on them wings. And for me, you'll see with my team in a bit which starting 11 I've picked, and either of them two are in it. For me, I understand why he's done it. He can change the system a lot, but Ward-Prowse should have gone for me, definitely.
Sorry, just on the selection of Ben White, do you think that leans more towards the fact that he's going to do it like a 3-5-2 as opposed to a 4-4-2? Just that, like, I think the last time we played a 3-5-2 was in November against Iceland. Ever since then, we played a 4-3-3. Do you think maybe that selection has kind of pushed him towards, like, giving a little bit of an indication of where he's going on the formation? Sorry.
I think the Ben White selection is just simply down to the fact Harry Maguire's injured. There's nothing else to it. I think he knows full well he doesn't trust his centre halves. I think anyone can see. You've watched the recent friendlies. Tyrone Mings is not an international footballer. Conor Cody cannot play as a centre half in a 2. As good as he is when he's got the ball in the back 3, the centre of the 3, and he can ping the balls everywhere. It's a different game when you're playing 2 at the back. Ben White's, I'd actually have White, and I think White and Stones would, if Maguire doesn't make it, I can see that being the centre half partnership on Sunday, just because I don't think Southgate has complete confidence in Mings and Cody. The obviously added to that fact as well is you look at the balance of the squad. You know, you had three. You had more. We had more. You had four fullbacks and four centre halves. You know, and obviously didn't make sense. So you need a bit more cover in there. So it just gave the squad a bit more of a balance. I think, you know, Simpsons mentioned it. Ward Prowse unlucky not to get there. You know, with his delivery and stuff. But is he really going to start? That's the thing. You're probably looking at players that can just come in and start. And Ben White's probably going to start. If White don't make it, I thought he was good against Romania as well. He really put himself, you know, at the forefront to start the game. The rest of the squad, I did mention it last time, but I've thought about it now, and I think, you know, Southgate were really weak in picking four fullbacks. He just took the easy option. You know, he should have dropped. He needed to drop one of them, and it, you know, even if it was Trent, drop him, but be brave about it. And he bottled it basically, and he's taken all four. So, you know, I think it's almost like he didn't want to upset anyone, and I don't think that was a great start. But obviously Trent getting injured sort of helped him out. Mason Greenwood getting injured as well. I think Ollie Watkins is a bit unlucky as well, because I don't think Calvert-Lewin's an international quality striker, and there's not a lot between Watkins and Calvert-Lewin. And you can argue Watkins has had a better season than Calvert-Lewin as well. But I think we are where we are now. We pretty much called the players that would get left out anyway from the squad that we went through.
Yeah. Andy, your thoughts on the England squad? I don't suppose you're too interested, but give us your thoughts on it, pal.
I think there's some potentially exciting attacking talent in there. I've not seen a lot of Jude Bellingham, but heard good reviews of him. I think if Kane comes in on form, he's got one of the best strikers in the competition to put the ball in the back of the net. As you kind of alluded to, that the centre of defence is not the strongest, but I've looked at some of the other teams that are probably below France and Belgium in the non-English betting favourites. And I think that's a bit of a theme. There's some good attacking talent, but perhaps you have questions over the central defence or defences of some teams, which makes for an exciting tournament. You hope that's going to lead to a lot of goals. But yeah, the four right backs, I agree with Ty. I think we spoke about it when we did before this. I think he probably weighed at what was going to get him the least flack, and perhaps he did take a bit of a cop out. But I think it's a strong squad. If I'm comparing it to the Welsh one, like as we did in 2016, the majority of all of those would get into the squad, and the majority you can make a case for would get into the starting lineup. So, but you're not competing with Wales in this. You are competing with the big boys, you know, France, Italy, and teams like that. So, I think it's a pretty strong squad on paper.
It's almost like you queued it up for me. We'll move on to your squads, the Wales squad, for the upcoming game. Can you tell me your thoughts on this, in particular, the one that I've highlighted there, Ruben Colwill?
Yeah, he was the only shock inclusion, I guess. There are a couple of decisions you had to make. James Lawrence, who since the squad was named, I think even within about 24 hours, pulled out injured and been replaced by Tom Lockyer, who had actually played quite a lot in the last 12 to 18 months and probably felt a little bit unfortunate for him to not be included. But as has happened with Lawrence is injured and he's come in. Colwill, I can't say anything about him because he wasn't even on the radar for Cardiff's first team until the last 3 or 4 months. I think the guy he's probably come in for in place of was Josh Sheehan, who was started life at Swansea and has been in the Newport team and got to the playoff final. And I think Colwill's been in the sort of the early training squad while Sheehan's been playing for Newport, and by all accounts has blown them away with his sort of how he's performed in training. So I feel a bit for Sheehan. When he played for Wales, he's done well. There's a lack of number 9s. I think Kiefer Moore probably is the only one. There's some decent options in wide positions with Bale, Daniel James. Still not quite sure what Tyler Roberts is. Whether is he a number 10? Is he a winger? Is he a centre forward? I think that's still to be decided. But we've got options there. I think the overall squad is stronger than 2016, and as we'll probably come on to, I think that made for a more tricky decision for what my 11 would be. But so yeah, better squad, probably not as strong a starting 11 as 2016.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that you mentioned that like England were pretty don't want to say top heavy. They probably are top heavy comparatively to the defence, and it looks as though the Welsh team is the same, because when I got my my paint pad out here, there was actually only I think there was only three forwards at the time. I kind of had to move over Gareth Bale, move over Harry Wilson, just to try and give it so it looked remotely even. But just on the omissions, like I think Kanu, was he not in contention?
So I think either just after 2016 or long after 2016, he retired from international football for personal reasons, and then sort of came back in the last 12 months and was included in some of the squads. In the last get together, he himself, Tyler Roberts and Rabbi Matondo, who now I mention is another one who was at Schalke on loan. I think he's can't recall where he's been the back end of this season. I think he's one of the Welsh mafia that's in Stoke as opposed to Spurs. So Matondo has missed out, but that's no great surprise. He's had opportunities and not done a lot with it, but he's still very young. And I think that Tyler Roberts and Hal Robson-Kanu offer very similar attributes in terms of perhaps stretching defences, a bit more of a physical presence. Again, kind of what are they? Are they number 9s? Are they wide forwards? And I think just perhaps if you take out the disciplinary issue of the last international, Tyler Roberts has been playing regularly in a Leeds United team that's done really well. He might not have been one of the better players, and I think he's still quite raw. But if you've got a toss-up between those two, I think Roberts deserves it, and he is younger. You could go on the sentiment of Euro 2016 and what Robson-Kanu did. We'll probably look at it, make it a bit of a strange decision. But I think if you look back at this year on purely footballing terms, I think it's the right call.
Yeah. Obviously, you haven't had the best preparation with Giggs in his usual antics. Just your new manager. Do you know much about him? The style of play that you want to play? Because obviously you were quite successful with 3-5-2 in the 2016 tournament. I think you then moved to more of a 4-4-2. Do you think it's something they might move back to?
I think now with this squad, and we're going on to it, the availability of certain key players like Ramsey, Allen, Ben Davies, Gareth Bale, the names that people know of and who were integral to that 2016 squad, haven't always been there for the Nations League and the qualifiers, and we've had to then play quite a lot of 3 at the back with more attacking wing-backs than perhaps Neil Taylor and Chris Gunter were in 2016. And then despite Kiefer Moore being a big part of why we ultimately qualified, he's been playing Harry Wilson in let's call it a false 9. We just haven't been playing with a striker. Now he's got pretty much everyone available to him. I don't know whether he'll stick with the 3, but Ramsey's availability probably led me to go with a 4 to still have that kind of balance in midfield and not have Joe Allen having to cover acres of space because we're not going to have a lot of the ball. So that's kind of what I think a lot of Wales fans would like to see go back to a 4 at the back to accommodate Aaron Ramsey, which you of course have to get into a team.
Yeah, you're like a presenter's dream. This is actually your 11. So if you just want to spell it out to the listeners, who you've chosen as your Welsh 11 versus Switzerland. I think it's Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday 2:00. Which I'm sure everyone will be rushing to do the day before England's first game, last day of being able to get other things done. I've gone for Wayne Hennessy in goal. Not played a lot of football this year. Danny Ward played in the France game. We lost 3-0, but he had an excellent game. Saved a penalty from Benzema. And again, that's a decision because neither are playing regular club football. But I've gone for Hennessy's experience. He's very, very rarely let Wales down over the last decade. I tried to get experience through that spine of the team. I think if you throw it forward to after the tournament, if neither Hennessy or Danny Ward are playing regular football, I think you probably go with Danny Ward. But it's tournament time. It's about getting results. Let's go with tried and trusted. Connor Roberts at right back, been excellent for Swansea this year. 3 sort of the Player of the Year awards. I think on form, he deserves to be in there. And he's one of only, I think, 3 players when I looked at that who've played either regular or either semi-regularly this season. Nico Williams, left back, probably more known as a right back when he has played for Liverpool. When I've seen him for Liverpool, he's looked a little bit rabbit in the headlights, perhaps. I think the intensity of the Premier League and the way Liverpool play is hard for anyone to get used to, particularly a young player. I think the pace of international football probably suits him a little bit at this stage. I think his quality on the ball is unquestioned, and he has played a decent amount on the left. So I think they provide with good attacking options from fullback. Joe Rodon, big fan of Joe Rodon, probably a bit biased as a Swansea fan, but alongside Ben Davies, I think in the eras of modern day fullbacks, I think Davies is probably better suited now to play centre half. He did play left side of a 3 in the Euros as a third centre half as opposed to a fullback, which most people probably know him at from Spurs. Moving then to Allen, Joe Allen, sort of the guy that ticks us over, breaks the game up. Wanted to put him alongside Ethan Ampadu. There was a consideration if we could have gone Ampadu perhaps into the centre of the defence, or Chris Mepham, who's played quite a lot of games. But again, to accommodate Ramsey, I wanted to go with a 4-2-3-1. So Allen and Ampadu, which gives you the flexibility that if we are backs to the wall, or who knows, holding on to a 1-0, you can move Ampadu into that centre back and go with a 5. And then where our strengths lie, Bale coming from the right, Dan James on the left, Ramsey playing in the freedom of not being perhaps alongside Joe Allen and needing to that sort of donkey work in behind Kiefer Moore, who is someone who's, I think he's scored 20 plus goals for Cardiff this season, played regularly and provides us an out. We're going to have a lot of time without the ball in this group stage, looking at the quality of the teams we're against, and he gives us that option to go a bit more direct. I think Bale particularly will cut in as he does, which might allow Roberts to sort of overlap down the right. So I think I've seen a few Welsh fans tweet in starting lineups and what they would like to see. I think barring perhaps 1 or 2 players in certain positions, I think that's the formation. Whether Robert Page will go with that, he might go with a 5. We'll wait and see come Saturday.
Just one for me, Andy. Just looking at the team there and the squad, it feels a lot stronger in 2016. You've got Harry Wilson on the bench. You've got Tyler Roberts on the bench as well, who would probably start in the 2016 team. And they're good players. I mean, Tyler Roberts is an established Premier League player for a good side. For him to not get in the side, and we talk about Ampadu playing him there, and he could play centre half as well. It gives you quite a lot of options. Question is, where do you think you're not going to get to the semi-finals? I mean, if you do, I look like a right dickhead.
No.
Clip that up.
Watch him, we'll knock Italy out now.
Where do you think you're going to end up? How far do you think you can go? You're in a tougher group.
We're in a very tough group. Well. I think this first game is our best chance. The first game in a group is crucial, and I think this is our best chance for a win, which is probably why I've perhaps gone with if it was Italy first, I might have gone with suggested maybe a 5 at the back and tried to sort of hold out for a draw or get something on a break or from a set piece. I think if we can get one of the best third place spots, I think that would be an achievement, and getting out of the group would absolutely be an achievement. And to come to your earlier point about who's perhaps not in the starting 11, I spoke when we looked back at Euro 2016 as if we had a very strong and settled starting 11, which we haven't got this time. This is not a settled team. I don't know if this team has played together at all, certainly very rarely. But what we didn't have was players who could come on and perhaps make a difference. Andy King, you could bring on as fresh legs, Dave Edwards as fresh legs, and they would do a job, but they weren't going to turn a game for you. Whereas, like you say, Harry Wilson, be it from a set piece, David Brooks with his dribbling ability can create something. So yeah, we have got options. I think getting out of the group would be a success for us. And from there, if you're third place, I think I did the Euro 2020 website predictor, and that had us against the best placed team in the French group. At which point you kind of think, well, okay. So yeah, group stages I think is achievable, but it will all kind of come down to this first game, a win or a draw. If we lose, uphill battle to get out of it then.
Would you not go all out in the first game then maybe sling Nico Williams at right back, put Ben Davies back at left back, Ampadu back at centre half, drop Ramsey next to Allen, put Bale in the middle, give him complete free roll like at Tottenham in the middle, and put Harry Wilson on the right hand side, cutting on the left, and just go with have some youth on the wings and just go for it in first game.
I think Ben Davies is, as we've perhaps seen with Spurs this year, I know he's been injured the last few months, but if you look at Reguilon and the style of fullback that he is, Nico Williams and Connor Roberts both offer that bombing up and down. I'm not saying they're as good as Reguilon, otherwise they'd be playing regularly for for those teams. But I think they do provide us attacking options from fullback. Davis is very good on the ball and can bring it out, and will probably step into midfield a bit more. He's never had the pace really from fullback. He's been a very good, dependable fullback. But I think those two do provide us those attacking options. I think Switzerland will also be looking at this as the game that they need to win. Be it first game, we're probably battling with them for third. I think if we threw caution to the wind and then we're 1-0 down within 15 minutes, 20 minutes or whatever, then that could be tournament over in terms of qualification. I think this strikes the right balance for that, with the options to come off the bench. Ramsey hasn't played regularly all season. You might not get full 90 minutes out of him. You never know with Bale. Allen hasn't played a lot this year. Dan James, been a really strong performer for Wales. But yeah, I think this strikes that balance of having attacking intent without leaving ourselves too open.
Roberts gives you that overlapping thing. But I was thinking with Nico Williams on the side of Daniel James, they're both predominantly right-footed. I know Daniel James is quite good with his left as well, but I think with them two both cutting in on that side, you might lose that overlapping left fullback with Nico Williams on that side a little bit. It might be exposed on that right-hand side for the Swiss counter-attack a little bit.
Yeah, and he could quite come. Bale's strengths probably, and I think his preference would be to come from the right.
Yeah, definitely.
But you could quite feasibly, as a lot of teams do now, swap wingers over mid-game or whatever. And I think Dan James and Connor Roberts have played together a lot from sort of Swansea's under 23 ranks. You're right, Dan James is more of a hug the touchline winger. If Bale is going to drift in even from the left, that will leave that space for Williams. So I think there's the flexibility from that. I think if you've got Ramsey as a 10 and Moore as a focal point, you're going to want James and Bale making those runs inside fullbacks to give Ramsey, runs to play with, and he'll find the passes more often than not, and then it's up to them to finish. So yeah, there's a danger of perhaps running into each other's space, but you think with the intelligence of Bale, Ramsey, and with James alongside them, particularly those two, and we've had nearly 18 months to prepare for this tournament. You'd hope that they got the tactics right, that we're not going to be running too much into each other's spaces. And if it does happen, we can work it as a good overload on their fullbacks, because I know Shaqiri's not renowned for his if he's one of their wide midfielders, he's not renowned for his tracking back, is he?
No, definitely not.
So Simpson, I love you're like a man of my own heart. You just spoke there about pretty much taking the handbrake off. Like attacking wise, and I personally think that we should go all out for it. A lot of the time we are very conservative in tournaments, and to the extent where we basically just shoot ourselves in the foot and then we come home as heroes. When really we should have went for it. Someone on our Twitter, Chris Leadbeater, he's a good friend of mine and Tys. He actually made some good points, and one of his questions was related to that. Do you think this is a tournament for taking the handbrake off? And judging by your team, it looks like you've said a strong yes.
Yeah, definitely. No, for me, it's even just having belief in yourself. It comes to these things and we try and play a different way. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can't go in naive, you can't go in tactically gung-ho, especially against the bigger teams. They will just pick you off eventually. But believing what we're good at is attacking at the moment. We've got a good attacking threat going forward. We play fast-paced in this league. So believe in your strengths. You've got Mason Mount who's played in the Champions League final. You've got Jude Bellingham. The kid's 17 years old and he's tearing it up in Germany.
How good is he?
He believes in himself, yeah. But we're going to end up getting him and end up stifling him like we do with everybody else. And like with Rooney, I loved Rooney when he first came out, hence why I got this bad boy on now. He just ran at people and teams absolutely shit themselves in that tournament. And he was tearing things up. And eventually, bit by bit, as they get older, come back, learn the tactics, keep possession, which is all great. You've got to learn that. But the same thing with Michael Owen. Sometimes some kids have raw talent. And you know what? Just express yourself, do your thing. And everyone's raving about Grealish, same thing. But I guarantee if he does a few runs, loses the ball, next thing is like, right, he needs to come out of the team, we need to get better shape. Just let them express themselves, do their thing. I'd rather them go out on the sword than go out just being pussies the whole 3 games and not doing bugger all and drawing everything. You know what I mean? It might as well be Rob Green back in goal, for fuck's sake. It's one of them. Just go all out. And yet, Henderson, to be fair, he's probably not that fit. But for me, you've got Kane at the top, who's going to be captain. He's going to be vocal up there. I think we're just not putting Rice will start because he's obviously fitter. But for me, having Henderson in there gives you a little bit more experience, especially if Maguire doesn't make it as well. I think you need a voice in every third for me. Talking, doing what they're going to do. And Henderson is a yapper. He will talk and organise people. And even if he's knackered, he'll tell people where to be. And especially Bellingham, he'll tell him where to go, where not to go. When Mount's gone, you stay, and vice versa. and he'll just direct things a bit better. That's why I went for Henderson in there. Mount obviously speaks for himself. I think, to be honest, Southgate will build a team around him, whether he plays 3-5-2 or 4 at the back. Reece James impressed me this season. Chilwell gives you that balance. Shaw's had a great season, but I can't tell if he's on a 5-2 diet still or not. I don't know what's going on with that guy. He looks like he's benching 280, but I don't know. Then he's done a slim fast meal. I don't even know what the hell's going on with him. I can't work him out. So Chilwell for me again gives you that balance. But yeah, I mean, look at that. Like Ty said, Ben White probably ended up coming in for Maguire. This is probably the team I go with after the group stage if everyone's fully fit. Rice will probably be in for Henderson, but Grealish and Foden deserve to start. They deserve to start over Rashford and Sterling for me. They've been the best two, and for me anyway, I'd build a team around Foden. I mean, Geezer's gone and done his Gaza hair today. I don't know if you've seen that. He's bleached his hair like Gaza's today. It's like, I mean, don't get me wrong. But again, we don't want to put that much pressure on young lads like we do in England. But for me, Grealish and Foden, they'll just go, you know what, do your thing. Because you know for well, Kane's going to drop back, try and help out. It's like, no, stay up there. Let Mount do that bit behind you. Foden and Grealish, express yourself. I'd rather you take on the player 4 times. If you lose it 3 times, don't give a shit. Try again. Express yourself. Let's go out. Let's show people what we can do for once. Let people be scared of us instead of just us being scared of them, and see if we can get a set piece or do something here and there. So hence why I went for quite an attacking team, a bit of a Kevin Keegan gun ho kind of thing going on. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's the reason why I picked those there.
Gordon mentioned that the Gaza haircut, it wasn't actually towards Gaza, but it's kind of like he has invited
it looks just like it.
To draw the comparisons, doesn't it?
If he does a flick over a Scottish player's head and volleys it in, he has to do a celebration. He has to do the celebration.
So he's not been inspired by Euro 2016 Aaron Ramsey. This is not the story that we're all missing here.
I thought it was H some steps, to be honest, but we'll move on.
So moving on to Tys. I've actually changed it there. The only difference that you've actually spotted is Kyle Walker at right back.
So you don't even look where he's going now. Look at his picture. I mean, look. The geezer's confused right now. His picture days confused him. So, yeah.
Ty, so quickly go over your team, pal.
Yeah, obviously similar to Simpsons. I thought, wow, he's picked the same team. Then I realised, no, he hadn't. He just picked it. But the Reece James one, I get why he's picked that, and he's obviously got better delivery in the final third. I completely disagree with you when you said you've got to pick the team that you're looking for to play in the World Cup. Each tournament's individual. I think you ask Southgate to be like, fuck that. If we win the Euros, I don't give a shit what happens in a year's time. So I think he's focusing on now naturally because of the age of the players. Majority of these players are going to be in the squad and the team in a year's time anyway. The reason why I've gone for the team as I have there, obviously Ben White comes in for Maguire if he gets injured. They're the back. That's the triangle at the back. Pickford, Stones, Maguire. He's gone with that all the time, and he'll pick with that. He trusts Walker. He'll play with him. And Chilwell, I think Chilwell looks sharper than Shaw. I thought he looked really poor against Romania. He looked Shaw. He seemed to get isolated and he got beat a few too many times with and without the ball. The midfield 3 now. Henderson, obviously, if he's fit, he plays. I think Mount and Bellingham, and I don't think enough people are giving him both of them enough credit of how good they are without the ball, like working back. You think Mount and Bellingham, you think attacking players, they shouldn't go that way. Well, they both play for teams where they've got to work back. The era of where we had an attacking midfielder and that's all he did, and he didn't really have to work back. I think that's gone. It's finished now. I think it's a non-negotiable for an attacking midfielder in a top team to work. So Mount, obviously, Chelsea's been brilliant for them. Bellingham at Dortmund as well. The kids are a different class. You know what I mean? You talk about England, who are you going to build your team around? It's around 4 players for me: Trent, Bellingham, Mount, and Foden. They're the 4 England should be building the team around. So them 3, and then the Grealish 4. I mean, obviously, Kane plays is the best, probably the best in the world in his position. Grealish and Foden play ahead of Sterling and Rashford because they're better than him. They've been better than him this season. They're better than they provide more. I mean, Foden's ahead of Sterling for Man City as well. Grealish has obviously been one of the best players in the league. The only thing, just looking at that tactically, is Kane's obviously adapted his game. He drops deeper now, and with Spurs it seems to work because obviously he can drop deep. Son makes a running behind to break the line. I don't think Grealish or Foden, neither of them two are the players to really break the line without the ball, and he thinks Sterling and Rashford do provide that. So that's the only bit where I think Southgate might think I need to get one of them in just to run and stretch the game without the ball. But I mean, that's the team. I mean, Foden could potentially. Grealish isn't.
Yeah, Foden would be the one that did it, wouldn't he?
Yeah, Grealish is going to come to the ball and dribble. And Foden could do that, but you can expect Foden to do that without the ball.
Would you tell Kane to stop doing that then? Would you say, like, pack it in now, just stay up there?
It depends. I mean, in that team, I'd ask him to stay there, but you don't want to. There are moments as a striker where you do, as a smart striker, where I said in the previous podcast, is one of the most intelligent footballers I've seen. So he'll recognise those moments when to drop deep. Because I mean, Croatia first game, I can't imagine Croatia playing a low block. Whereas the other teams that he plays, they may well play a low block. So him staying high up all the time, it might be a case of just dropping in deep and just trying to play those little balls. He's a brilliant passer with the ball as well. But no, I think you look at that team, and it's more than that team. It's what you've got. If that's not working, you've got those options coming off the bench that are brilliant. You know what I mean? That England haven't had before. We mentioned last, on the 2016 podcast when we said Rashford came on and everything he was the only one they had to rely on. They were that poor. But as you look across that, there's five attacking threats, and then you could probably throw your fullbacks in as well, Chilwell and Walker. So I think it's the weakness is obviously the centre half area and defensively how they're going to. Look, and as we mentioned before, there's quite a few. I mean, even Belgium's. We'll talk about other countries a bit, but Belgium's defensively are weak as well. I think they're favourites, and so there's a lot of weaknesses out there for other teams. But I think this is the most exciting group of players England have had in my lifetime.
You think it's the best squad since '96?
Oh yeah. I mean, '96 was. I mean, '96 squad was all right.
The 11 was good.
We had depth though as well. We had a bit of depth. The previous years we had Gerrard, Lampard, Rooney. It was 4 or 5, and the depth was just shite. When after that, to be fair.
I mean, I do think that team in the 2000s was probably the best 11 when you went through. You go Ashley Cole, Campbell, Ferdinand, Neville, Gerrard, Lampard, Scholes, Rooney, Owen. Do you know what I mean? That's like brilliant. But this, I think you've got these players are tactically smarter and they play for top teams. They're Champions League winners. They go deep in Champions League. They're challenging for titles. Whereas those teams, they never were there. So the level's completely different.
Yeah, so we'll move on to my team. You mentioned earlier about Gareth Southgate basically bottling the right back job by selecting all three, and it just so happens. If we discount, if we take out Trent, but yeah, we just move on to mine. I actually went with Trippier, so we've chosen exactly. I went full Football Manager mode. Obviously, you can see that I've got a 4-2-3-1 here. I think I thought about it a little bit too deeply. The reason why, like I said, the team is exactly the same. So Trippier, Stones, Maguire, Chilwell, Henderson, Bellingham, Foden, Grealish, Mount, and Kane. Again, the only difference is Trippier. So we're all on the same wavelengths in relation to 10 of the players. It's just that right back. So you can understand why he's a little bit confused because everybody's got their own opinion. But the only reason I chose Trippier, and to be honest, I'd have chose Trent. If Trent was there, surprise, he would have been there. But it's just a link up with Harry Kane, the history that he has with Harry Kane. What I did was I picked the most important players first. So first of all, I put in Harry Kane, I put him forward, and then I put in the players that I feel that would complement them the most. Now, like you guys, I don't think that this is going to be a team which can put the lines necessarily. I think it's going to be very... like Man City played against Chelsea. They kind of played with like a false nine, and they never really had anyone running in behind the back line. It was just all in front of Chelsea, and it was very difficult. Now, you haven't got the likes of James Ward-Prowse on the pitch for deliveries. I just think Trippier is probably the best set-piece delivery. And again, this is a team based on Croatia and Croatia alone. I think it's going to be very fine margins. I think they'll have a lot of the ball. I think they'll have more of the ball than what we will. And I think it will come down to those little moments where I think Trippier's delivery probably holds him above the other two for me. And the rest is exactly as you guys mentioned. Again, I think Bellingham's absolutely unbelievable. He's played his way into this. Henderson, for me, has got to play. The reason why I went for a 2 in centre midfield is I just think we need to be a bit more pragmatic against the likes of Croatia. I don't know whether you guys thought necessarily against the type of opposition that we were going to play, but I've got Grealish in the centre because I do not trust his ability to track. Obviously, Ty, you mentioned Mount's like his work rate and ability to track back. Foden, he's used to that left-hand side. So for me, that would be the team. And the only question that remains is Andy, whose team's better?
Oh, wow.
Oh, absolutely threw one of the bus there.
Given they've just picked different right backs.
See why Southgate had a problem, can't you? No.
Well, that's what I mean.
Can I just say something? Can I just say something before Andy says something? Chris, how the fuck do you pick Trippier when he was the one that was getting left out of the squad?
I know. That's what I mean. I can only think like, his set piece delivery. For me, it's not a great deal of difference between him and Reece James, who is the better footballer. I think Reece James will be the better footballer.
Well, I think Reece James is the better footballer by a distance.
I think he is the better footballer. I think.
Well. Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Do you not think Grealish as well, when he played more central the other day, he kind of ran into people too much? When he's out wide and he's one-on-one with somebody, he tears them apart. I think he just kept running into the wrong pockets, I thought. Sometimes.
Yeah, you look at Villa, they've got Grealish on the left and he's had Barkley in the middle or someone else. He knows full well that's his strongest position, and he has worked back for him as well. So yeah, I think you Grealish in the middle.
You can't pick Grealish's team, basically, Andy. You can't pick. Sorry, to Chris's team.
I would like Grealish to get on the ball. I would just like him to, you go where you want. The rest of you are pretty much rigid. You can just go and get on the ball. Him and Foden, just the 1-2s that work so well. I can't remember which friendly it was, and I just think maybe putting him on the left hand side, especially if he's got to do defensive work. I do not trust him. I saw him I didn't see him at the Riverside. I watched the performance of him. He was amazing going forward, but tracking back, he was pretty terrible.
Go on then, Andy.
I'd say each of your reasons for picking the right backs that you've picked over the other were all pretty sound. So when I'm trying to pick between them, the only kind of thing that I can pick, I think Walker and James. Similar, I think. I understand the Trippier set piece argument, but I think when you look at the technical quality with Foden, Grealish, Mount, and others, you should have a good set piece taker in there. So I would just go for Ty's team on the basis of Walker and Stones perhaps having more of an understanding from club level, and I think that kind of that might help with that.
That's that B license kicking in, lads.
I don't mind, because it's like the back 4, 3 of them are Yorkshire lads, so you know what I mean. It's a proud day, to be fair. They're all Sheffield lads, aren't they? Stones, maybe Barnsley, maybe Stones, maybe.
Obviously, I haven't watched England since the World Cup. Croatia in our qualifying group, we lost 2-1 away to them, I think, and then we drew 1-1 at home, and I think they played very much within themselves. I think the team is pretty similar to what it was, the one that beat England in the semi-finals, but naturally are a few years older, and I think they will. I know you say they might press a bit higher. I don't know. I think they'll be a bit more pragmatic and will sit back and go, come on, then break us down and back the likes of Modric to pick a pass and people like that to do something against, and see that what they think England's weaknesses is defensively. But the front 6 that you've all sort of gone for, front 5, if you discount Henderson, I think there is technical ability. I think there's the ability to beat players one-on-one, which when tightly packed defences and international games, I think is valuable. And I think there's you hear Martinez and Guardiola, those kind of Spanish managers talk about arrogance and having a good arrogance, and that doesn't sit well with British people as a general trait. They don't like being described as arrogant, but I think from what I've heard and seen of Bellingham and Foden, and they've got that sort of football arrogance of give me the ball and I will make things happen. So I think there's a lot of options there to make things happen for Kane. It's if he can stick to being a penalty box striker when he probably feels he can do more dropping off. If he sticks to a penalty box as a penalty box striker, you'd think between Foden, Bellingham, Grealish and Mount, they're going to create enough chances for him to put them on. You'd back Kane to take 9 chances out of 10, wouldn't you?
It's interesting you say that, Andy, about football arrogance. And I know Klopp said this, I think it might have been last year or the year before. He said to win the league's major tournaments, you've got to play with risk. And too often, England they've played with risk to a certain extent in qualification. They get to the tournament, they are scores. I think this is an opportunity you've got to actually go. And there's obviously a bit of risk in the formation the players we've picked, because there is the opportunity that Mount and Bellingham might forget to track his man. Grealish might leave someone, But what the trade-off is, that what they'll give you on the other end, or the flip side of the coin, going forward, and they'll create chances, they'll score you goals, they'll give you those moments that perhaps if you went with a bit more safety and we went with a double pivot of Henderson and Rice or Henderson and Phillips, do you know what I mean? So I think you've got to play with risk, and it comes back to that bit. If you lose trying, really going for it, no one's really going to bother. Do you know what I mean? And instead of just losing on a penalty shootout and then same old shit over and over again, you need to play with risk. That's what I'm getting at.
And the opposition are going to be afraid to take a chance themselves, thinking, well, if I do go forward, this talent's right behind me. He's going to punish me here. So having them on creates fear in the opposition as well. For me,
I mean, the pace and the turnover in those five and the fullbacks is phenomenal. And in football, the biggest moments and chances created are in those turnover when the ball's turned over to the opposition. And when England are without the ball, I almost think they're more dangerous than with the ball, with the players they've got.
Yeah, you said Rice and Henderson, they kind of send a shiver down my spine. And I'm just like, obviously both good players in their own rights. I'm just wondering who do you think that Gareth Southgate is going to pick? That's the question. I think if it was one of them, if he's picking. I want you to pick. As if you were Gareth Southgate, you've got Henderson available, Rice available. Who do you think he's going to go for the Croatia game?
He picks. Sorry, Andy.
Sorry to ask. Are we discounting? Perhaps this is the Leeds, living in Leeds bias. Are we discounting Calvin Phillips from that discussion?
No, absolutely. You choose whoever you want.
I think Phillips gives you that energy. I think he gives you more energy than Rice, to be honest.
Yeah, so like I'm talking, which whole team does Gareth Southgate go ahead with? Like we've agreed on 10 of the 11 players there. Does he go with that team?
I think Henderson, the fitness issues come the knockout stages, his experience as captain of Liverpool, and would probably see him through to that. Again, the caveat is that I don't watch England, so I haven't seen what's going on. But I think when we talk about how Man United look a different team without Maguire in it, Leeds United are a very different team without Calvin Phillips in it. I think he has got that range of passing. He's got that energy. I think that Declan Rice, is a good player. Does he benefit from there being a strong West Ham presence in the British football media? Perhaps, I don't know, but I would take Calvin Phillips over him. I suppose you've got to try and get some minutes into Henderson's legs during the group stages with a look to that. But Rice would be my third choice pick based on purely Premier League and previous experience. But again, I don't know why I answered that question first, because I said I don't watch England. So I'll leave it to you.
Simpson, crack on, mate. Do you think or even a formation change? Obviously we've all went with 4 at the back. Is there any chance that he's going to go with a 3? What do you think he's going to go with?
I think you go with the 4 at the back now, especially if Maguire's not there. Just sling in Ben White. Keep what you're going to do. Don't change what other people. If you plan for the 4-4-2 all along, then go with it. Just slot somebody in, make him learn his role. You've got plenty of time with them. I agree with Andy with Calvin Phillips. I think, to be honest, I'd rather have him than Rice in my team. I like Rice. He's a good player. I think he's an honest player with it. Calvin Phillips may be more prone to give you away more free kicks and set pieces against certain teams. But against Croatia, they're an Asian team. Like I say, have confidence. I think our hardest game will be Scotland. I really do. I think that'll be the hardest game out of all of them. I think Czech Republic will try and defend and get set pieces. I think Jan Koller might be kicking about somewhere still. I don't know. But for me, Scotland's the hardest game. Scotland by far is the hardest game. And I think they'll surprise some people as well, to be fair. Well, no, I don't know if Bernie made it or not. Obviously, after his controversial thing near where I live.
Injured McBurney, unrelated to his...
I had to give a few backslaps out about Ron Yorkshire. But other than that, I honestly think, again, against Croatia, like, don't get me wrong, they're a canny team. But I think if Henderson's fit enough, he'll give Henderson 60, 65 minutes and then he'll bring Rice or Phillips on. And then just if we are 1-0 up, he'll try and shut down the game. He might even go with that and then take Bellingham and Henderson off and put 2 defensive midfielders in and just shut them shot and go, right, let's win the first game, up and done, get 65 minutes under Henderson's legs, and then go on to the Scotland game, which I think that's going to be the most competitive game. That'll be the most end-to-end game, I think, England-Scotland. I think it'll definitely be more attacking than Croatia and the Czech Republic games. So I think we go at them go defensive, and then see what the Scotland game brings.
All right.
I think the first game is going to be really interesting in what he picks. Like, knowing Southgate, will he revert to type and play with his two holding midfielders and go, or does he go with the three that we've got on just the one so-called defensive midfielder? And I think that's going to show a real indication of if he's really going to let go, let down the handbrake and let them just go play and express themselves. But like I was absolutely he's great at nailing everything I would say with in terms of how you rank Henderson, Phillips, and Rice. I think Rice gets a lot more credit and a lot more plaudits for doing not a lot. And I've had an argument with one of our followers, Dave Peach. Used to go to uni with him, and he holds him in such high esteem. And I said, I don't rate him, because I always think to rate a player, you've got to play consistently well against the top sides. So in the Premier League, against the top six, or in international football, against the better teams, not against your Luxembourgs and shit like that. And it'll be interesting to see what he does. I think too often he'll get the ball. He plays a safe ball too often. Whereas if you see Henderson and Phillips play, they look forward. They may lose the ball, but the balls are going forward, and they look to break the lines without the ball. Where Rice is all right, and he reminds me. He's almost like a version 2.0 of Eric Dyer. Do you know what I mean? Can sort of
just
play.
Thinking the same thing.
Do you know what I mean? Can sort of play centre midfield, can play centre half, but it's not really going to be. There was talk about teams in the top 4 or 5. I don't know I don't know which team he'd come in and where he'd start.
Souček was better than him this season, I think. For
I don't get it. I know Chelsea were after him. He's not going to get ahead of Kante. He's not playing ahead of Jorginho or Kovacic. So I don't know. It's just
Jorginho's trash, though, to be honest.
No. He's really.
I know he's Italian. Well, he's Brazilian,
No,
Jamaican or something. I don't know.
But no. I'm not having that. No. You're showing you ignorant, Simpson. This is
Jorginho for me. No, trust me.
All I'm going to do is edit this shit out. I'm just going to edit you speaking.
I don't rate him. I don't care if you've got posts on the wall for me match attacks. I don't care. Jorginho for me.
Watch Italy. I'm going to say this as well. Italy have got the. I'll mention this in a bit. But Italy
they're dark horses. But
Italy have got they're not dark horses. They're like one of the favourites. Italy have got the best midfield in the tournament.
So all of us are agreed. Declan Rice is he's a good player. He's not a great player. He's down the pecking order compared to the rest of them. Why does he get the press that he does then, like amongst the rest of the country? Is it because he's a West Ham lad, they want him to do well? What is it, Ty?
I think it's because he's quite active on social media with him and his mate Jay Lings.
Okay.
and he seems to be one of the lads, and there's a certain push and drive from the media to sort of, I don't know, I don't see it. I mean, I just watched, we watch the players, we're not too bothered about what they do outside, and I don't see it. I mean, I've watched, I'm not a fan of stats. I've watched, football. I've watched Rice play enough times. I've seen him play against the top sides, and he's been average at best. But yeah, I can't. I mean, it's the media, isn't it? They can push it however they want. I couldn't really answer why he gets more credit than other players. Maybe it's that north-south divide as well. I don't know.
Yeah, perhaps. With me, I think that it's going to be Declan Rice and Jordan Henderson, 100%. If them two can play, I think they will play. I just think that Southgate will miss out Bellingham. I think he'll be the one to miss out. I think if Henderson isn't available, I think he'll play Calvin Phillips. I think he'll play him. I just think he's too conservative, and to be honest, I wouldn't necessarily blame him on this game because Croatia are a quality team, regardless of whether they're aging or not. They will. I guarantee they will have more possession, and I just think that it might be the wise decision. It wouldn't be what I would go for. We've shown what I'd go for, and Andy's just pissed all over that. But just miss. But yeah, I just think he's too pragmatic, and I just think it could be to the detriment of us when it comes down to the final stages. But yeah, so moving on to Italy, Ty. Your thoughts on Italy and any of the other dark horses in the,
they're not
in the,
tournament.
I just want you to throw out a couple of teams that you think, starting with you, Ty, and Italy, why you think that they'll do well this tournament.
So I fancy to go really far. The balance of the team is as good as it's been for a long time. I mean, Italy are on an unbeaten run of something like 27 games, I think. Is eclipsed the Matteo Lippi record of the one that won in 2006. I think is only about 3 or 4 games of breaking the all-time Italian record of going unbeaten. The manager's Roberto Mancini, that of Man City fame, and he's been brilliant. Obviously, they didn't qualify for 2018, so there was that whole doom and gloom, world's going to end and shit. But they've come back and you're going to watch Italy play, and they're going to be one of the most attacking Italy teams of recent memory. I mean, the first thing that'll make me want to punch the TV will be when the pundit goes, it's a typical Italian performance, some defending deep, and it's like just absolutely ignorant, no research, stupid ass punditry, and it boils my piss. So they've got fullbacks. They've got Florenzi and Spinazzola as fullbacks. They've got Bonucci and Chiellini at centre half. They're old, but they're experienced as fuck. And you got Donnarumma in goal, who's probably the best keeper in the world. Or I've got a real good argument. I think he's going to PSG soon. And then, in my opinion, the best midfield in the tournament, they'll have Jorginho, Verratti, and Barella. And then the front three will more than likely be Chiesa, Immobile, and Insigne. So again, 4-3-3, but a slightly different makeup of midfield three. I mean, you've got Jorginho and Verratti as a double pivot, and both sort of playmakers want to get on the ball. So they'll always look to keep the ball and play. So I don't really fancy your chances, Wales, when you play them.
I'm going to say thanks for that. They're a really attacking Italian team.
Yeah. So I don't fancy.
That'll be great.
Yeah, I don't fancy Ben Davies and Rodon to be doing.
Would you get 5 at the back? We'll just go 6 at the back, play for a draw.
Yeah, Nico Williams, as much as I like him, I don't fancy it.
Would you not have Berardi over Chiesa? Berardi's stats this season a lot better, assist and goals wise.
Yeah, he has. I mean, he's obviously grown up a bit as well now. I mean, I know when he first broke on the scene, only about 6 years ago now. I was like, this is if he gets an opportunity, he's got to take it now. But it's just that Locatelli's a good player as well, good midfielder. Do you know what I mean? So there's good opportunities. Belotti as well can play up front instead of Immobile.
I like Belotti.
Belottie's what you call an old school number 9.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
he's
really
a handful
good at it as well. Yeah, and he's a real handful.
He'd be a great replacement for Kane at Tottenham if Kane left.
Yeah, really good.
Really would.
So again, I think the balance of the team's really good. There's a feel good factor. And I think they'll get out of the group stages, and then you never know what happens when he gets knocked out. So the only thing I hope for is we don't get knocked out on penalties. I've had enough of getting knocked out on penalties.
Would you rate Donnarumma more than Oblak then as well?
I think Donnarumma's better with his feet. A lot better with his feet. It looks like he's going to PSG now. Yeah. But I think potentially.
Do you think he'd be wasted in PSG? Because I mean, he could have a cup of tea and a shit in French league and not have to do anything for like 90 minutes.
I think it's more the Champions League in it. It's more. I think players go to PSG not for the French league. It's there. They've got a decent opportunity. Well, obviously, Wijnaldum just doubled his wages.
I know.
His salary.
Wijnaldum's got a gold grill and everything now. And he's
Yeah, so no, I mean, I think they're going to be. But then, in terms of other teams, I don't think Belgium. I think their defence is poor, and they're another team. And I mentioned it when Man City were in the Champions League and as favourites. They've never won it. Again with Belgium, they've never won it. Have they even got to a final? I don't think they have.
Is Hazard captain as well of Belgium now?
They what? Sorry.
Is Hazard been made captain of Belgium as well?
You've got to be fit to be captain.
That's what I thought, and I could have sworn I'd seen a thing about him being captain, and I was thinking
he's on that Luke Shaw diet, isn't he?
He's on that 5-2. He's on that 5-2, man. I think Lukaku will end up he'll be up there for top goal scorer. But like Ty said, the centre halves, I think they're getting old.
I think
they've got Tielemans and stuff like that.
I think the team are France that you're going to look to beat. I think they've got the most balanced. I mean, you look at their front line, I'm like, fucking hell, like Benzema, Mbappe, and do you know what I mean? It's just wow, and Griezmann, and I probably forgot Giroud as well, and Kante, who I think's got. If France win it, he wins the Ballon d'Or because he's just been phenomenal.
You not think though, if we weren't like hosting most of the games, we wouldn't be in that favourite position.
Oh no,
I don't think we would be.
The reason England are the price they are is because they're the home nation and it's patriotic money. It's what you call
exactly. Yeah, if they win at 7-1 and everyone backed them, bookers were fucked if they won it.
See, what you've got to understand is when the bookmakers price these up, it's never on who they actually think. It's just basically what they've got to balance the book. So if England win, they don't want to get absolutely done. And the reason why England are such short prices because the patriotic stupid money will just go on England. Do you know what I mean? Your normal punters would never have a bet. Go keep putting tenner on, but all those tenners will add up. So I think you can almost move it.
Do you not think Portugal will be the sort of the best bet if they get out of the group stage at 9-1?
I still think you can make a case for quite a few of them. I do think Portugal have got they've obviously got some really good players going forward, and defensively they're good as well. They are the holders, but I think Turkey at a price are not the worst, just because with it being a tournament, they've had some really good results. They beat Holland, they beat someone else as well. I think they did something against Germany recently.
They beat France in the qualifying, didn't they?
They did,
4 points off France.
Yeah, I mean they've got Chanoglu from Milan. They've got the Leicester centre half.
Yilmaz has had a great season at Lille.
Yeah, Yilmaz and the other one from Lille, the Yazici, the attacker. So Lille have obviously won the French league, and they've got 2 or 3 Turkish players there. So I think at the price that they are, I think you might have a little dabble on them.
For those of you at home, we've got up the Paddy Power website, and it brings up England as 92 favourites, France 9-2, also Belgium 13-2, Spain 7-1, Italy 15-2, Germany 15-2, Portugal 9-1, and then Netherlands 13-1. Obviously, we'll consider those guys the favourites. Andy, your thoughts on who you think will actually win it, and your tip for the dark horse, not amongst those named. Maybe Will's at 175.
Might have 50p. It's really boring. We can't see beyond France. We played them in a friendly warm-up game a couple of weeks ago, and like Ty just said, that sort of front 4, Benzema, Griezmann, Mbappe, with Pogba in behind, just sort of they were just so, and that was without Kante in the team. And I think below France, I think there's a group of teams that are very similar in levels, and it could, Ty, come down to penalty shootouts or who rocks up on the day. I think there's teams who've got strong attacking options, but not so much the defense is where you can get at them. So I think interesting you mentioned Portugal. I watched the Portugal-Spain game. Spain dominated the ball, but I'd never had confidence in Morata putting one of the chances away, and as it proved. And then you looked at the other end with Ronaldo, Bruno Fernandes, and you thought, they're going to do something like this again. They could quite feasibly get through their group with 3 draws and go quite far into the tournament, because they've got match winners at the top end of the pitch. Pepe and Jose Font, who's I think their combined age is about 76, if not older. So I think Turkey. I will pick a dark horse in a minute, I promise you. But I used I think I mentioned it before we started recording, or when we started recording, about the Euro 2020 predictor. I actually thought Turkey are going to win our group, but I think Italy will get through to the final. So France the favourite. So I was to pick a bit of a if we're saying we can't class Italy as a dark horse, then let's go for Portugal.
Yeah, Andy's going with Portugal. Simpson, your winner and your dark horse.
I'm just looking. Why are Denmark 25-1? Is that because Bentner's finally retired? What's going on there? Like over Turkey as well. So we say like what the top 6 dark horses, maybe 7 then. I'd have to probably then go with Holland, I guess.
No, you can't have Holland. They're up there.
You think they're up there as well? Then we'll go from top 8 onwards. And again, to be honest, Ukraine have got some good little players here and there. I can't see them going further in the tournament, maybe out of the group stage. I'd have 500 on Macedonia, maybe 50p on that. Maybe on Alioski getting 3 red cards. I don't know other than that, but. Turkey's a dark horse, again, just for sort of the route they'll have to the final. And then I'm going to stay patriotic. If England can make it out of the groups and play at Wembley every week and keep fit, I'm going to go with England. Why not?
You're the punter that Paddy Power absolutely loves.
It's because I haven't got an account then, isn't it? That's why.
It's one that sounds worse than it probably is. But the question with Holland is, without Van Dijk, are they as good as they could be? And I guess if you look at Van Dijk out, not in the team, you're not going to be as good as you are with him in it.
Absolutely not.
But is it one for stats fans? They've not won a game in the European Championship since 2008.
Wow.
I mean, I wouldn't influence your betting decision on it. But just
did they miss a couple of tournaments as well?
They were really poor against Scotland as well, weren't they? In the recent game, the Scottish reserve team drew with Holland, and Scotland could be a really good shout at the price they are. Because I think I was going through Scotland's team; they've got a lot of starting Premier League players, really strong,
that's our toughest
players. Game. So I think what price 250 to 1 Scotland, and you're right. I think that could well be England's toughest game now. I'd be looking at them to get out of the group. Again, I think once you get out of the group, it's just such knockout, isn't it? Because I don't think there's any. All the teams know how to defend deep and well, and if one of the teams have an off day, there's always an opportunity that it goes penalties and you get further. So I think Scotland at the price as well. I do like them.
They could do a Greece job, couldn't they? Because defensively they look tough to beat. They do. John McGinn, McTominay, and Robertson. I think defensively they look tough to beat. I mean, like Craig Gordon again is older than dirt, but other than that, yeah, like I said, they've got a Greece job.
They've got Shea Adams up top on there, and I think
Shea Adams. Yeah,
his nickname is Shea McAdams.
I don't know where you got that passport from.
I think since Greece won it, pretty much, you throw it out there, anyone can win it. There's been increases an extra round in this one. So it is a little bit harder, but I think almost any one of them can win it. Ty, what you're going to go for winners? Italy. Surprise. So I'm going to go with Portugal. I don't know. I just can't stand them, and because I can't stand them, they go on to generally do well in a competition. They just
start liking them then.
Yeah, true.
Once Ronaldo retires.
Pepe is like 192-year-old, and he just manages to pull off worldies when he comes to tournaments. And then you got Ronaldo, the cheerleader, on the line. You've got Bruno. I'm presuming the young Atletico player will be
João Felix.
João Felix as well. So
Diego Jota as well.
Yeah,
he does reject Renato Sanchez.
Yeah, a lot of good players. So I'm going to go with them as my team to win it, and my dark horse, although I thought it was a dark horse, but clearly it's not anymore. Turkey are the ones you see.
Mad, no one's mentioned Spain, isn't it? No one's
mentioned Spain. We've gone through however long we've been recording, and all our combined experience of watching tournament football, and the name Germany hasn't come up. I thought it's one of those you wouldn't back against. But there's probably a reason why we haven't spoken about them. But how daft are we all going to feel when Germany sit here, with having lifted the Euros again from just out and nowhere, just done what Germany do? But maybe that's going down the lines of Ty saying that everyone will refer to Italy as being. I've gone into lazy punditry mode there. Italy saying they're going to have a defensive performance. Germany always turn up at tournaments. Man, no, they don't.
We should have I think we should have some sort of. I'm not going to use question of the day because it's better than that, but have some sort of. Shit punditry bingo. So every time they use a cliche, it's like -1 or something.
So real quick, we just move on to top goal scorer. I want you to throw me out a name who you think is going to be top goal scorer. I'm going to start with Andy.
Lukaku.
Okay. So Lukaku's at 6-1. Simpson.
I'm going the same. Lukaku. Yeah, I thought from the start. Big Stormzy.
Sorry.
Griezmann, I can't believe he's that price.
Where is he?
Where is he? Oh, 22.
Yeah, and he's obviously, you'd expect you want to back a team that's going to go far, and France will go far. I mean, Immobile at 16s as well, I think. But again, it's whether he starts Immobile or Belotti. But yeah, I think Griezmann 22 is a cracking price.
And I'm going to do what Simpson does, and I'm going to be the mug. And I'm going to say Harry Kane. I'm going to do Harry Kane. I think one of the betting companies are doing, it might even be Paddy Power, where I think you put maybe a £10 on every time they score, you get a free bet with them. And I think with Grealish on the pitch, there's going to be no end of penalties. I just think it's going to be penalties galore. So I'm going to go with Harry Kane.
Please gamble responsibly.
Yeah.
And other good betting companies. Other good betting companies. Look at you getting sponsored.
If Paddy Power listen, I'm sure we'll take the sponsorship.
Thanks for keeping us right, Andy. Right, so best player of the tournament.
I've gone two to really come to the fore. I thought Thiago, towards the end of the season, was really getting into the groove after his injury and settling in Liverpool. I think Thiago's a top player, and the other one is Verratti as well. I just hope he's fit. They're both very similar players. You know, they get on the ball, they dominate the possession. And I remember a couple of tournaments ago when it were Iniesta and Pirlo both finished first and second. Similar kind of players, just like dominate the ball, just like make the game look so easy. Them two for me.
Yeah, Simpson.
Like, so you want to say Kante because he's a nice bloke, but I can't see him getting it just for the sheer fact I think France will do more attacking than they will defending in the tournament. So for me, Kevin De Bruyne's going to miss half the games with an eye patch probably. So going with that again, I'm going to go Lukaku again. If he gets the goals, I think he'll get it.
Andy?
I'm going to go first. This class me as a second lazy punditry thing, but when Ty mentioned about France winning, I think the first 2/3 of the tournament will kind of course they'll count, but I think that they'll look at what the influence in those latter quarters, semis and finals. And I think with France, with so much attacking talent, they're going to be susceptible to be broken on. And with those better attacking players in the other teams, I think having Kante in front of that defence sets them apart from Henderson or a Phillips or perhaps some of the teams in terms of just breaking the play up and allowing those players. So as boring and kind of sitting on the fence as it is, I think his role in France ultimately winning it is why I'd put my money on him. And he's in form, isn't he? He's man of the match in the Champions League final. It's a sensible bet.
Yeah,
which is why you bet, isn't it, to be sensible?
Yeah. You going Declan Rice, Chris?
Yeah, I'm thinking Declan Rice at 40 to 1.
He's the same as Tony Cruz.
No way, Declan Rice 40 to 1.
Tony Cruz is 40 to 1.
Do you know what that is? That's that media push again. I'm telling you.
Frankie De Jong is 40 to 1. You know what I mean? It's like Gnabry's 40 to 1.
I think Verratti is a bigger price than Declan Rice to be playing in the tournament.
Even Kai Havertz is 40 to 1. I mean, come on.
Wow.
My Lord.
The sign all this week to me, like little message from the gods that telling me that England are going to win this. I can't even say it. England are going to win this one. So I've got to go with an English player. One of the signs that came to me earlier today, actually, I was looking through our playlists, and today is actually 365 days since we uploaded our very first video. So it's our year anniversary.
Congratulations, boys.
And the first video that we uploaded was Euro 96. And I'm going to go one further. We're not going to finish in the semis. We're not going to get knocked out in the semis. I'm going to go with our little Eminem lookalike. I'm going to go Phil Foden as the winner of Player of the Tournament.
There's a lot of omens got into that prediction. How you celebrated the 365 days? Was there ever,
Yeah, I'm gonna put a little wish on that. So yeah, just with that being said, Ty, 365 days. I completely forgot to put that. If I hadn't missed up the beginning, that would have been it.
That I know. I feel like so. It's thrown me from the question of the day as well now with it being 365 days. But yeah, no. Genuinely, thank you if you've listened to us from the start and you've been with us throughout this journey. I hate that word journey, but throughout this, long episodes of podcasts that we've released, hopefully you've enjoyed it. Well, I imagine you have if you're still listening to us. As always, any sort of comments, feedbacks will be brilliant. I've really enjoyed the last year. We've come to that time of the tournament, that time of the episode where it's question of the day. And with this being the Euro 2020 preview show, you are not going to be shocked to find out that the question is, who do you think is going to win it?
Oh, I didn't see that one coming.
Didn't see that one coming, did you? With it being a year old. So yeah, so who do you think is going to win it? And just a little extra one as well, how far will England end up in it as well? Comments, likes, subscriptions below.
we're just going to move on. We're almost coming to the end. As Ty mentioned, if you're at this point, go and give us a like. You must like something about this video. Just ignore Jeff on the side here. We've got the Euro 2020 venues. Obviously, this is the first Euros where it's been scattered across Europe. Probably a good job this time due to COVID and what have you. I'm sure it wasn't planned that way, but we've got Rome, Baku, St. Petersburg, Copenhagen, Amsterdam, Bucharest, London, Glasgow, Seville, and Munich. Obviously, Wales, I think their group games are in Baku, or at least a couple of them are. How are you feeling about that, Andy?
Yeah, it's quite the place for a base, isn't it? But yeah, it would have been a long way to go, and we probably wouldn't have had too many supporters for that one anyway, although some people would have certainly made the trip. And then, yeah, Italy and Rome, I had a ticket for that game. So when I saw Stadio Olimpico at the top of that list, then it was sort of brought a little sort of right in the heart. It's one of those opportunities that probably won't get again. That is as great as it'll be to watch those first two games in Leeds and as I mentioned at the start, to go and then watch that last game with my dad in the Italy game. I'd give it all to be in Rome. We're a long way out of it. I'll back the expansion of the tournament. I guess I would say that as a nation that's benefited from it. Although my brother did point out that I think it was 1992 when it was maybe a 4 or an 8 team tournament. We finished runners up behind Germany and didn't qualify despite the team we had. But the multiple venues, I think, is very much money based. As someone who went out and I did it in one country, you tend to get from across to Baku and then to Rome. It's scandalous. For even if we could travel, there are very few people who could afford to do that. So yeah, I don't. I might make for a good TV spectacle, but if fans were allowed to go, I don't think it would. It's not for me. Not for me, Clive.
Something. How about you, Matt?
I agree with Andy. It should be in one country. It is a money spinning thing, and they always use the excuse of, we're giving it to countries not had it before. Then let them host the whole damn thing. The two countries thing, I get that when it's two smaller countries and the venues might not be good enough or they haven't got enough stadiums, but it was a whole money thing, to be fair. It's worked out well for us because we finally got some games again. I don't think they wanted to give it to England again for a long while, hence why we get overlooked quite a few times. But it's the same as the World Cup next year. Obviously, they're moving the whole tournament to another season in the year to obviously cater for Qatar having it. But it is what it is. I'm glad that it's here and glad that it's finally getting going. So I'm not going to moan when it starts, but it is bad for, like the likes of Andy that do go to all the games and spend their hard-earned money and go every week. I mean, I'm not fortunate enough to go to the games. I'd love to, but the likes of Andy and the Welsh fans, stuff like that, it is ridiculous. I mean, you're talking like an 8.5-hour flight or something after Baku.
No direct flights.
Yeah, then you've got to take 3 goats, you know what I mean, and all sorts of different places. So, yeah, I think it's just money spinning, to be fair. And they're on about, they can bring the game to people and people can see it locally. It's like, everyone's got a TV now, everyone's got internet now. So don't worry about that thing. Give it to one country, let them host it, let them enjoy it, let them put on a thing for their fans, show their country off, and everyone go to that country and learn that culture for that whole month and a half and enjoy it. But, yeah, it is what it is. I'm looking forward to it on Friday. I won't moan once it's on, and let's go.
Right. How exciting to have games back at Wembley, and similarly for Scotland to qualify and have games there as well.
Oh yeah.
And with some fans, regardless of what Boris has announced while we've been recording, you can't help but think of our generation, think back to Euro 96 and to experience that as from being, I was 9 at the time. So to get to relive that as an adult in some sort of way will be exciting.
I feel old now.
Yeah. But my issue with it is just the hypocrisy around it. And I mentioned it before about, UEFA, they were first ones out of the blocks when it came to European Super League, all this and again. This is exactly how can you justify having it in all those venues? So if you've got, like you said, I'm using Andy as an example because we're from Baku to wherever. It's just, your average fan cannot afford that. As it is, if for anyone that's been to a major tournament will know that country will naturally increase the prices for hotels, everything, extortionate as it is anyway. So if you're going, as you could probably go in one country and just save up and knowing full well you can tax. You're not going to be able to do it for 3-4 countries. So you've got 3-4 countries all charging extortionate amounts. It's just not right. I think go back to the way where it was, and I do like the idea of having 2 neighbouring countries do it. I think it works out well logistically as well for travel, and people can use trains to get around, not having to get flights a bit cheaper. But again, I just think it's yeah, I just think the hypocrisy just stinks from UEFA trying to be the, holier than thou and then just doing shit like this. Just really blows my piss.
I think on last one for me on that is that around the time it was announced and they were looking, we knew we were going to Baku and Rome. I think there was something on Twitter where it had been priced up at around about £5,000 if you wanted to follow Wales in the group stage, because there was no direct flights to Baku. Getting from Baku to Rome, you had to go via another country, plus, like you say, the hotel costs and all the rest of it. It's catering for a corporate market, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm like you guys. I think it should be in a certain country, because you do get the whole the vibe of the country. You think back to vuvuzelas. They were. Everyone remembers vuvuzelas. That South Africa. It's those little things that you remember about the country, and it's like Tys there. It stinks of hypocrisy. I am of the opinion that nationally, I would love it if England were to travel to different parts of the UK to play their games as opposed to Wembley, because I think we've got that kind of like divisive part of the country where we've got, Northerners don't really feel as attached, like, the likes of Liverpool up here. We don't feel as attached to the England team as I suppose with what the Londoners would feel necessarily. So traveling in between a specific country for the national team, that's brilliant, and that is all inclusive. But to travel all across Europe for a specific tournament, it's beyond ridiculous.
Is it to England's benefit actually for a
finish second,
easier route to finish second? But
the caveat with that is, I believe that that game does go to Copenhagen or somewhere in that region, and also I think England have to play the winners of the group of death game, which they would have escaped in the next round. So, with that in mind, would you just go all out just to win the group and get the group of death game out the way, or would you go with we'll draw against Croatia, let them have the top of the spot?
Let's go balls deep, innit?
Go balls.
Southgate's a eunuch. I'm going balls deep. I don't care. I'm going all attacking.
That's the obvious answer. I'm pretty sure that's the. I don't know about balls deep.
In the live commentary.
But I don't know about balls deep, but that is the answer. I think everybody's going to say. Do you agree, Ty?
Yeah, I think home advantage is. You literally can't put a price on it. I know what you're We've been talking about money, but you literally can't put a price on it. I think the home advantage is a big part of the fact that you don't have to worry about travelling, your plans thrown out the window and all that. And I think you probably take that and play a proper team, and a tough team. I mean, I don't understand when you try to sort of plan your route through. You could get an easy game, and then you got a tough game in the quarterfinals anyway. What difference does it make, if you get out? But you've got your home advantage. So I think home advantage, play the tougher team, just means you've got one less tough team to play down the tournament.
And Declan Rice can walk from home, can he then as well?
Yeah.
Just going to play for third. just to give a foot. I'm anticipating next question. We'll play for third. Take France in the last round of 16, and then whoever can. Once you've knocked out the favourites, you'll take on whoever, won't you?
Yeah.
Lastly, I just want to know your hopes versus your expectations on your respective teams. We'll start with Andy.
Hopes are that we don't get a hiding from two very good teams. We've spoken about Turkey and Italy quite a lot as being either dark horses slash favourites, so it could be in for a really tough time, and the knock-on effect of future years to quite a young team if that was to be the case. I hope we can get out of the group, be that third best play, one of the best placed third teams, or whatever it might be. If we can get out of the group, I think that would be a success for us. And what comes after that, I think anything would be a bonus beyond that. But yeah, that was my hope.
Simpson.
Hopes he's winning it. Expectations, we don't make out of the group. South gets sacked and he's in pizza adverts again for the next year and a half. But no, honestly, I think expectations, at least, I'd love to see at least again a semi-final run. Just the atmosphere it created a few years ago was just amazing in this country. And I was abroad, like say, for the quarters and semis, but just back home, it was amazing. For once, it was actually a nice atmosphere in England for once. Everyone getting on. No talk of crap here and there. Just everybody got on for once and forgot about all the troubles for a little bit and actually was a nation for once. So it does bring extra sort of things to England when England do well as well. It's an extra expectation, I know. But I mean, even going from being booed the other day and stuff like that, and bless them, I think if they did do well, again, you just get a bit of peace for a bit, I think, as well. So for me, hopes, finals, expectations, semis.
I gave 2 hopes. So whether you want to edit this in or just carry it on, but I think my hopes are that we get through the group, and my positive expectations are that we get a win against Switzerland and manage to get a draw against one of Turkey against Italy and still get through it. So my hope and my expectation is the same, ironically. So, yeah.
My hope, obviously, huge affiliation to Italy. Hope Italy win it. Expectation, I think they'll go far as well. I think naturally with England, I want England to do well as well. I think from what I think we can all remember from 2018, I don't think Southgate's a great manager, but I do think he's a good leader, if that makes sense. I think in 2018, I thought he led and he spoke unbelievably well. And he did a really good job of uniting the nation, because everyone sort of felt part of the same team, same country. I mean, we obviously saw everyone in beer gardens throwing the beers up and celebrating. But then I think the sort of the areas in Bradford that my family are from and where I sort of grew up, even generally they wouldn't really support England, but they were getting behind England as well. And the message that he sort of sent out about the players representing the country, I think that really rang true as well. The only negative for me, well, it's not only way, it actually is a negative, and it's a fucking massive negative, is the racists who are currently booing, and they just got to be a line. I think there's quite a few people who mentioned it, because the people that are booing are basically racist. They've been told it's not political. You're basically taking a knee for inequalities that people of colour have suffered over many decades and centuries. That is it. There's nothing else. It's got nothing to do with Marxism or defunding the police. Got fuck all to that. This is all it is. England managers said that. Players have said this is what it is. But for you to still go ahead and boo, it just shows the kind of person you are. So I think there's got to be, that's just a racist act. But I really hope it keep taking the knee and there's no more booing. But unfortunately, I don't think that will happen unless they give actual, proper, strong punishments for it.
Yeah, you two both nicked both of my hopes and expectations. Andy, you done well, mate. I actually agree with Simpson that we're going. I hope that we're going to win it. I expect us to get knocked out really earlier than probably we anticipate. And then I moved on to I hope that the fans don't boo the knee. I like taking the knee. Point. I expect them to, and that's the unfortunate thing. I think we need to maybe change the gesture. I don't know what it is, just so we can actually call these people out. It gets to a point where you change the gesture, they continue to boo, and then you are like, well, now we know the reasons. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's never going to end, like you say. They're going to continue to be, but regardless, it's just going to be forever related to the Black Lives Matter movement. And I just think that you take away the gesture, then you take away people's excuse, and then at that point, you just eradicate people from the stands. But yeah, like you guys, I'm just hoping that it's going to be like the feel of Euro '96, where a country together as opposed to divided, like the media love to do it. I've started to see people like taxi drivers, like loads of shops and all that with the England flags. You don't see that any other time of the year. Not on St. George's Day, nothing like that. It's only the England team that can do this. So that's my hopes.
And again, take the England flag away from people viewing it as a racist thing. But any other time of the year, see the England flag, I think it's a racist thing. But take it as a national pride, as a football sporting term. Remember the Rugby World Cup? I was at uni for that when they won the rugby with Johnny Wilkinson. Never watched a rugby game in my life. No. But loved every minute of it and got behind it and supported it. And yeah, even with the cricket, you know what I mean? If your nation does well, you get behind, you enjoy it. You know what I mean? Everyone gets involved.
Yeah. So just before we wrap it up, I just want to say a huge thanks to both Andy and Simpson. You've been with us throughout since Euro '96. You've obviously had some sort of part to play. I hope everyone's enjoyed listening to us. So this sort of brings to an end with us the preview for Euro 2020. I still find it weird calling it Euro 22, even though it's 2021. But no, huge thanks from myself. Don't know if you want to add anything, Chris, for the input.
Yeah, just to the our 90-strong BTP army. Obviously, we've been around for 365 days now, so you've been through it with us. So continue to give us a like, subscribe if you haven't already. Again, if you're still here, you've got to subscribe by now, and just keep pushing us on. Hopefully, we'll be reviewing England winning the tournament, and then this time next year, maybe the World Cup. Who knows?
And congratulations to you boys with 1 year down. Mate, long continue
great effort.
Keep going.
Just before we say bye, with it, I didn't realise it were a year, and just by luck, we're both wearing the same top finally.
That's the only reason I wore it.
I was like, yeah, and I wore it during work today. I was like, just so I remember I'm wearing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks from me, and yeah, until next time, guys. See you later.
See you later.
Hey guys.